Hello and welcome back to Foundation Fabs of Flushes 2021, the last week, because it is a recap. I can't believe I've tested out all 8 foundations. It's gone so fast for me, you guys. I can't believe it. I can't believe summer's pretty much over. I can't believe 2022 is around the corner. Anyway, if you would like to find out which foundations I highly recommend, which ones are worth your money, and which ones did not work out at all, then all you have to do is keep on watching. Before I get started and share my scoring of the foundations, I would just like to say a big thank you for all the love and support under Foundation Fabs of Flushes videos. I know this year has been quite tough on me. I might get into that in another video, but I have definitely not been posting as regularly, and I have definitely seen the drastic change in views. I know I have such a big community and so many of you support me regardless whether I post twice a week or once a week. You always love and support me and give me thumbs up and comment, and I'm so grateful for you guys, so I just want to say a big thank you for that. But let's stop before I start crying. Let's just share the scores I have given the foundations, and how I've broken it down is the same way like I did it last year and the year before that. I break down each foundation into 3 categories: the coverage, longevity and finish, which are the most important aspects to me. The highest number of points within each category is 5, and the least is 1 or 0. Without further ado, week 1, foundation number 1, Fenty Pro Filter Hydrating Foundation. It costs £27 and I have scored it for coverage 3 points because it did say it was going to be medium. It did say it was going to be buildable. I couldn't build it that well, and you do need a lot of product to get it where you need it to be. That's why a solid 3 to me is good enough. I think that's a fair point. I scored it very good for longevity because it did last on my skin a long time, considering it is a hydrating foundation and it is aimed for more like natural dry skin. So I scored it 4 points in the longevity category. When it came to the finish, it was hard because the foundation by itself would have been way too oily, way too dewy for me. It looked really nice. However, my skin, because it's oily, it would have just broken down the formula and it would have slipped down my face. I did have to powder it down. However, it looked really nice and smooth after it was powdered down. Therefore, I was torn between 2 or 3 points in the finish department. Week 2, and Let's Face It foundation from Shake Up, or Let's Face It BB Tinted Moisturiser from Shake Up. And they did shake me up by asking me to pay £25. I bought this BB Tinted Moisturiser off Superdrug. Therefore, it is drugstore, should have drugstore price, and it cost me £25. That's absolutely insane in my opinion. Regardless, I've never heard of Shake Up, so they don't even have an established brand or a designer brand name. I just can't justify that price. However, I was intrigued because it said to be makeup for men. For coverage, I gave it a 2 because even though I could essentially see nothing on my skin, it did have almost like this veil of just a slight tint. I can't even say it had light coverage because it didn't. It was more of like a veil of smoothing and a slightest tint, and I guess because it is a tinted moisturiser, I can't ask for more. I wish I could ask for more. I do feel like to me this is a pointless product. I would just go with a concealer, and I did give it a proper try another day. I put it on, I spot concealed, I put my cream bronzer on, and I did the whole thing. I wore it to work and it was horrible. It didn't last at all. It was super shiny after like 4 hours. That's why for longevity I gave it a 1. I couldn't. It rubbed off my face and it wouldn't hold. However, because it did have like that smoothing veil and like a slight tint to the skin, it was matte but not flat. I actually kind of liked that aspect, so I gave it 3 for finish. I really like the cooling sensation. It did sort of freshen me up. I did like the scent. However, cons, total cons, it didn't last. It just wasn't worth it. It was expensive, and the shade range is ridiculous. I can't even call it a shade range because if I'm not mistaken, there's 3 or 4 shades in this BB cream tinted moisturiser. So it's a complete pass for me. Complete pass. Week 3 and another high-end foundation, the one that went viral on TikTok, and it is the KVD Good Apple Foundation. This costs £29, which is a lot of money considering this is only 10 grams of product. A lot of foundations, if I just look at the ones that I have here, the Fenty one has 32ml. If you don't know, mil is like milligrams or milliliters, is very similar to grams, so this essentially would be 32 grams. The Morphe one has 30 milligrams, the Glowish has 40, the Urban Cover from Maybelline has 30, so they all have roughly between 20 to 30 plus milliliters, and this only has 10 grams. However, it surprised me because the coverage, yes, we knew it was going to be good. KVD is known for full coverage. The first foundation they came out with, what was it? I can't even remember what it was called. It was super heavy, but it was like that amount of coverage. Just nobody needs that amount of coverage. I can't believe I even owed that foundation and I wore it in real life. It just looked like a mask. It was super heavy. However, this came sort of close when it came to the coverage, but you could not feel it on the skin. It felt really nice on the skin, and that's why for coverage I gave it a 4. This foundation is very high in pigment, so even though you don't get a lot of product, you get like an intense amount of pigment in one little amount. It felt really nice and lightweight on the skin. However, I did lose coverage when I powdered it down, and I just had to powder it down. Again, similarly to the Fenty one, if I wasn't going to powder it down, it was going to slip off my face. There was no shine until hour number 4, which was kind of nice, but it did remove a little and it started separating at hour number 7, which still again is not bad, again considering this isn't technically aimed at my skin either, just like the Fenty one, and it did hold on an oily skin a reasonable amount of time. So for longevity I gave it a 3. For finish I gave it a 2 because it was kind of glowy. When I powdered it down it looked beautiful, it looked nice and smooth, but it did get, you know, glowy, and I did have to blot throughout the day. The pros were that it was absolutely goof proof when it came to the application. I used a sponge, a dampened sponge, a dry sponge and a brush, and it worked and it blended beautifully with all 3 ways of applications. I haven't tried my fingers, but I can only assume it would be nice. Like if you want to use that, because it's so high in pigment, you could probably spot conceal with this foundation. I need to get a move on and stop rambling. Week number 4, Morphe Hint Hint Skin Tint. I really enjoyed the name. The skin tint costs £16, which is nice and affordable. The coverage for me was 3 because it was hard to build. However, for something that's labelled as a skin tint, it had a fantastic, absolutely fantastic coverage because it was nice and medium. However, I did have to, you know, calculate the points and give it a 3 in total because it did oxidize just a little bit. For longevity, I also gave it a 3 because it held up through a nap and it did look nice. It was quite glowy and I did have to blot, but you know, at my check-in at our number 9, did look pretty good. You have to admit, like, I would happily leave the house looking like that, especially after I blotted. Therefore, for finish, I also gave it a 3 because it was glowy, and the only thing I didn't like about this is that it had those little like particles. It straight up looked like, if you look in the mirror, you wouldn't be able to see it if someone was looking at you, but when you're applying it, you can see the particles and it almost looks like glitter. It's not completely like glitter, it's not that, like, the speck is not that big, but it's very reflective and it's very, just very glowy. Again, it's a good and a bad thing because I did powder it down and it did look beautiful. It didn't end up looking flat completely. Week 5, and probably the biggest disappointment this year, Glow Wish from Huda Beauty. I expected, because I know Huda likes her full coverage, I really hoped that when she was going to come out with a skin tint, it was going to have something other than just glow. For coverage, I quite literally was torn between a 1 and a 0, and I ended up with a 0 because to me, this just straight up does not have any coverage. It has a tint. Like, I don't know, I can't even call it a tint because when I put it all over my face, it did change the colour of my skin in a way, but it's like, no. I don't even know how to describe it. The best way that I could potentially describe it is that this is essentially a glowy primer, and that's what I called it in my actual video. It has no coverage, it's more of a primer. However, it did sort of give me a nice glow. It's not shiny like the Morphe one. It doesn't have particle. It has like an overall like pearl effect. If you've ever tried the Bare Minerals original powder foundation, it has almost like this metallic finish to it, as if you've put highlighter all over the face, but it just looks nice. So when it came to the finish, I actually kind of like that. That's why I gave it a 2. And it did look nice and smooth. It smoothed out my pores. It kind of I don't know, it just had that little bit of something, and that little bit of something lasted a long time. So if this had just the tiniest bit of coverage, I would give it like 3 thumbs up because it was very, very long wearing, transfer resistant, and I was shocked to see that skin tint after, like, you know, 10 hours or so. After Huda Beauty, I just needed something that was going to lift my spirits and get me through foundation Fabs of Lushes, and I did pick out a foundation that I wanted to test out some other time. I decided to try out the Maybelline Dream Urban Cover Full Coverage Lightweight SPF 50 Protective Makeup, and I'm so happy that I gave it a try. It's so good. It's $10.95, and for coverage, because as you can guess by the name, it's a good coverage. It's not quite full coverage, and unfortunately you can't really build it. It's more of like a medium high foundation. Feels good on the skin and looks nice and fresh. I can definitely see it for people with like normal skin. I'm not sure about people with dry skin. Maybe if you had dry skin and didn't powder it down, then it would be okay. I don't know though. For coverage, I gave it a 4, and for longevity, I gave it a 4 because I did have to powder, but it was just so good. It only started breaking at hour number 6, and you know, despite me blotting several times within the day, it looked almost exactly the same every single time I blotted up to like hour number 6. And then even at my final check-in, yeah, I could have done with a blot, but it looked so beautiful and I was so confident. I really liked it. The finish, because I had to powder it, because it looked nice after it was powdered, I gave it a 3. 2 more foundations, and week 7 we had the Clinique Dramatically Different BB Gel, and this is just like one of those people that is trying to be different, can't justify the fact that it's different because it's being different for no reason, just trying to be original, but what's the actual point? Like, just no. This BB cream cost £20, which I was shocked by because it's a 50ml squeezy tube and it is Clinique. Did it seem too good to be true? 100%. I should have followed my gut. I should have known, because the coverage is not too great. However, it was 100% so much better than Huda's coverage, and let's face it, after, you know, spot concealing and sort of finishing my makeup off, I actually really liked how it looked on my skin. The one huge disadvantage is that this comes in one shade. This apparently is supposed to blend in into your skin, but like, no, the shade range aspect of this I do not get. I still think it's absolutely ridiculous that they even have come up with this concept of this being suitable for people with light, medium and deep skins. It doesn't make sense to me. So it was too dark for me. Longevity wise though, horrible. It has gone patchy almost straight away. If you remember, on my forehead I had patches missing, and I looked shinier throughout the day than if I wasn't wearing this. If I'm gonna end up with a minimal, like the tiniest bit of coverage, then at least control my shine. If you're not controlling my shine and your minimal coverage, that to me is just pointless. However, initially when I did put it on, I really liked it because it was almost like this natural matte finish. If it stayed that way, I would have loved it and I would have gone ahead and actually recommended it to you guys. There's just too many cons for this BB cream than there is pros, so overall I gave it a 5. However, not all is lost. Week number 8 was a reasonably good week, as I did try the Florence by Mills Like a Light Skin Tint, and to me, finally, after trying like 3 or 4 skin tints or BB moisturiser things, this to me is a skin tint. This had a light coverage, which is exactly what I wanted. After concealing, it looked super nice. The only issue and the biggest reason why I'm only giving it 3, it's because it wouldn't adhere to my nose. It was like patchy and picked up on my dry skin. It just looked wrong. I did manage to fix it by just wiping my nose off and then reapplying it, but that wasn't the point. It shouldn't do that when the product itself costs £18. So 3 for coverage. I was surprised, and from 2 I have decided to give a 3. It was between a 2 or a 3 for longevity, because I did need to blot a lot. I blotted every single time I made a check-in. However, it did last a long time. At my hour 8 check-in, I did say that I was coming off nice and evenly, and it wasn't like super patchy in certain areas. It was just wearing off nice and sort of naturally, and I really like that. I don't hold it against the foundation that it's coming off, you know. For finish, I did give it a 3 because it was like this naturally sort of glowy finish. I did powder it down, but it just looked really nice. The biggest con, like I mentioned in the video itself, this is just too expensive for what it is for me to recommend. If you have it, then I'm sure you like it. I will still be looking for the perfect skin tint, the perfect BB cream, the perfect tinted moisturiser, because to me those prices and what they've done are just not quite there yet. So after scoring all of my foundation tints, skin tints, BB creams, etc., the worst one, the one on the bottom of my list, is the Huda Beauty Glow Wish foundation, skin tint, whatever you want to call it. I just don't think it's necessary. It is £32, and all you're going to get is a very expensive, very nice, very long lasting primer. Very close, pretty much exactly the same as the Huda Beauty. Number wise, this isn't any better than Huda Beauty. It's just at the bottom of the list. The Shake Up, let's face it, BB tinted moisturiser. Another BB cream that's pretty much on the same level as the Huda and the Shake Up moisturiser. The Clinique Dramatically Different Moisturising BB Gel. Might be shocking, but Florence is next from the bottom. I would say this is like a 3rd place. Next one, Fenty Beauty. Again, I would say like a 3rd place, maybe 2nd. One that I was really surprised by is the Morphe Hint Skin Tint. I genuinely thought it would have a very light coverage, almost similar to the Shake Up, but it actually is like a, dare I say, a medium coverage foundation. The 2nd place on my list, and something that I'm shocked by, is the KVD Good Apple foundation. Despite the price, I can almost justify that price. However, my golden #1 spot goes to the Maybelline Urban Cover, Dream Urban Cover, and I don't think it's any surprise to any of you, because I do like a good coverage foundation, and it lasted so well on my skin. It looked nice, it felt nice, it was so lightweight. Maybelline does it right. They just know how to do foundations, and like I said in my initial video, they just know. They know. There are some that I don't like, and you can definitely find them on my channel, but 8 out of 10 foundations that I've tried out from Maybelline throughout the years of me wearing foundations, they are good. I really like this, can't recommend it enough. Please let me know if you've tried it, if you like it. If you don't, are you going to try it? I would love to know. Leave your comments down below. Are there any foundations that you would like me to test out in the coming weeks, in the coming months, in the coming years? Because you know I'm not stopping with those foundation wear tests. I love them, you love them, and we enjoy them, and that's all that matters. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me for Foundation Fabs of Luscious 2021. I hope you are looking forward to Foundation Fabs of Luscious 2022. That is going to be a tongue twister. 2022. Thank you so much for watching. You are the best, and I hope to see you next time.